Let me go back to the slide I brought up at the beginning, and this is a deep concern to me. These are the number of people making credible fear, and so refugees are imported to the United States of America. You have people who are claiming asylum who come somehow to the United States of America. You can come here legally and lawfully, but you can also sneak into the country, as I witnessed down on the Arizona border where people came across the border. They didn't run from Border Patrol. They wanted to get caught. And the reason they wanted to get caught is they wanted to go through this process. And so, Mr. Rodriguez, I want to ask you about this. This is a massive rise in the number of people claiming a credible fear with asylum. How many asylum officers are there at Homeland Security?
The Asylum Corps, give or take, is approximately 400 individuals.
So you have 400 individuals, and in fiscal year 2014, we had 51,001 people claiming credible fear. There's been a lot from this administration about these exhaustive interviews. How much time does an officer spend interviewing and investigating somebody who claims credible fear?
Well, I think in credible fear, I think it obviously varies on the case. I have observed them. They seem to be approximately an hour. I will also say,
that on average?
Viewing them as a former, that is my understanding. As a former prosecutor, observing those interviews, they appear to me to be robust interviews by very well-trained officers.
So you have one officer. I want to make sure I get the math right here. You're saying you take one officer, will take 1 hour to interview somebody. You have 400 officers, and we have over 50,000 people just in 2014 making that claim. You were looking at some notes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, I see. In the particular case of credible fear, we have actually plussed up in the locations where we are screening people for credible fear. As a result, those screenings are getting conducted actually quite expeditiously.
Well, that's my concern, is that they're too expeditious. So my question is, how long is the average interview, and how many people are doing the interviews?
Again, I'll have to get back to you on the exact number. I believe
this is a hearing. This is a hearing about. This is a hearing about vetting.
Right.
So I'm asking a very specific question about vetting.
I believe at any given time there are approximately 40 individuals, give or take. We're going to get you the exact number, but that's the neighborhood of the number, who are in the locations where we are screening individuals who have come across the border, and they are conducting those credible fear and reasonable fear interviews, again, within the time frames that the law and our policies require.
Okay. You put a lot of asterisks on
You also asked me about the duration
40
of the
or
interview.
400?
400 is the total asylum core. So those individuals are doing credible fear and asylum. They're doing credible fear and reasonable fear. They're also doing the general work of asylum screening.
Okay.
As well in
so
locations
who are the
throughout
40?
United States.
Who are the 40?
The 40 are the ones who are deployed specifically to be meeting our goals to process individuals claiming credible fear and reasonable fear at the border.
How long, if you come across, and I'm assuming they've come across illegally. There's people that come across legally, but a lot of them are coming across illegally. How long are they detained until they've completed that process on average?
It's roughly, I think our target basically is 20 days. If they're in terms of either getting them into expedited removal or moving them into some sort of proceedings. A lot of those people obviously go into expedited.
So you said you're going to give me some additional information. When will I get that?
We will work to get it to you as soon as possible.
No, give me a date. Give me a date. I know it's the holiday season, but give me a date.
Given that, let's target the end of the first week of January.
The end of the first week of January. I think that's reasonable. Because the math doesn't seem to add up. Here's the problem. Refugees have the State Department and other assets working towards that, and I got huge, huge questions. But now as we look back at asylum, we're saying we got 40 people with 50,000 people coming in the door. Think of a football stadium, okay? Think of a football stadium full of people coming at us each year. You're saying that these people do interviews, background checks, write-ups, and they're not able to do that 8 hours a day. They got other responsibilities, paperwork they've got to do. Here's the problem. Here's what I experienced. When I went to Arizona and I saw people come across and they wanted to claim credible fear, they would go to a judge and say, an administrative judge, and say, Your Honor, you know, I got credible fear, and they'd read a little statement, and then the judge would say, well, okay, we're going to have to go through the adjudication process. And that adjudication process means what? What in Arizona is the next time we're going to see these people?
Yeah, that's the ordinary asylum process, and it is a number of, quite a number of months before there's.
You mean years? Years?
It can be years, yes.
Okay, so in Arizona, when I went there, last year, I believe it was last year, the dates they were giving out, the court date, was for 2020. And so what often happens is the people have come here illegally, they claim asylum, they say, oh, you might have credible fear, we're going to give you a court date, and now the backlog is so big that they're not going to get a court date until 2020. And then what happens? They do what? They apply for a work permit. How many work permits are you handing out each year?
I don't know the exact number. I certainly can.
It's a big one. Now they're in the United States legally. They can work and they can compete with an American taxpayer for jobs and all the other resources. They get benefits. They go to our schools. They do a lot of things just like an American citizen does. And I got a problem with that. I got a problem with that. Mr. Burson, did you want to say something?
Sir, when the last time we had the surge in the summer of 14, the administration put a bill up, and one of the key elements of that bill was to build an immigration court system that actually would work, because you've put your finger on the problem. We have 243 immigration judges, and we need many more in order for an immigration process to work and produce the result either way, but to produce a result in a timely fashion.
And the frustration is you got to lock down that border, and you got to get rid of the people who are here committing crimes, for goodness sake. They're here illegally committing crimes, and you all release them back out in the public. Some 60+ thousand times you did that. These are the criminal element. Don't tell me about the nice, lady who's just trying to help her family. These are people committing crimes, get caught, they get convicted, they're in your hands, and Homeland Security says, no, go back out into the community. Right? Am I wrong? Did I say anything that's wrong there?
Again, to be clear, the removal priorities are that if an individual is convicted of a felony, they are a priority one for removal. Returning to our earlier conversation, that includes rape. That is a priority one priority for removal.
So if they commit a rape, maybe get pled down. Am I wrong on the number two? If they plead down to say sexual abuse and exploitation, that's not good enough?
If the person if their top count of conviction is rape, which is a serious felony, then in that case they
But sexual abuse is not?
Sexual abuse may not necessarily be rape. So in fact, in the criminal law,
but it might, right?
It certainly as a prosecutor, I've seen people pled down to sexual abuse, if that's the point you're trying to make. So let's be clear about that. What sexual abuse actually means in the criminal law is not rape.
So based on the Homeland Security Directive from Secretary Johnson, if you commit and are convicted of sexual abuse or exploitation, that is priority two.
Which means that you are still a priority for removal in the
You're not the top priority. You're not the top priority.
If you're convicted of rape, the felony of rape, you are a top priority for removal. Let's not have people misunderstand that fact.
So it can be sexual
abuse. If you are convicted of rape, you are a top priority for removal. Let's not have the American people believe anything else.
But let's get the list of the things that are number two. Offense of domestic violence, sexual abuse or exploitation, burglary, unlawful possession or use of a firearm, drug distribution or trafficking, driving under the influence, all of which are not the top priority of Homeland Security.
Mr. Chairman, you've heard Secretary Johnson say that his top priority is national security and public safety. And with all due respect, the priority one goes to felonies, the priority two, and sexual abuse can often, short of rape, be a felony. If it's a felony, it's priority one. The priority two that you're referring to are significant misdemeanors. And frankly, as a former prosecutor, I think the felony should take precedence. It doesn't mean that we don't pay attention to.
But why not just get rid of all of them? You've got them in your possession.
Because you know that when you actually allocate resources, either as a
So it's
prosecutor...
a resource problem? Are you saying it's a resource
No, I'm
problem?
saying that when you have a choice
Why
to be
it's not,
made-
why, if somebody is convicted for any crime, why are they not deported?
So
Immediately. I mean, or serve time and then be deported. Why don't they all get deported?
So-
Why are there exceptions?
So 90, more than 90% are priority 1 and 2 removal. So I don't think it's fair to suggest
Those
that
other
there's no attention
10%.
to priority 2. There is. And
We obviously have a policy discussion. Difference. I don't think I misunderstand. I think you understand it as well. My point is, you got people convicted. They're here illegally. They're convicted, and you let them go. If it's only 90%,
that's a different issue than the priorities for enforcement. The issue of removal.
is it true or not true that during 2 fiscal years you had 66,000 people in your possession that were convicted of crimes that you released into the public? True or false?
What crimes? True.
Any
Yes.
crime.
Yes. No. So well, that's you say any traffic violation, a misdemeanor. Look,
Are there people that are on priority 1 and priority 2? Are there anybody in this?
There are minor offenses that are misdemeanors that are not.
I just listed, no, yes or no, 66,000 people over a 2-year fiscal year period that
Chairman-
you had in your possession and that you released into the public. You did not deport them, correct? True or false?
It's not just a yes or no, because you know there are requirements.
It's a true or false?
The answer is that there are requirements to release people under court decisions that you're aware of.
So that's so screwed up about the Obama administration. You're here illegally, you commit a crime, you deport them. Get rid of them. Serve your time and get rid of them. They are a threat to public safety, they are a threat for terrorism, and they should not be released back into the public. That's what's so outrageous. Let me recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. DeSantis, for 5 minutes.
The priorities are related